I'm looking at a Tiguan again with a DPF light and a glow plug flashing light. I've already looked at this before with a different scan tool. So this is a scan tool that also has manufacturer's side of the scan tool that might help me a bit more. So I'm going to go out of this. This is EOBD, that's kind of like OBD2. And there's the fault code, the DPF, soot accumulation. I couldn't do a regen on this, it said it had too much soot. So what I'm going to do, I'll just, wait a minute, I just thought of something. Can I get DPF pressure on this? That's what I wanted to see. If I can get DPF pressure on the OBD side of this, that would help know if the how black the DPF is. So we go into live data, see what it does here. Do we get anything to do with particulate or DPF? Diesel particulate filter, no. So this is what's going to happen with the smaller scan tools that have no battery, and you know, it uses the car's own battery and the smaller screen. The one I used on this doesn't have graphing feature or anything like that. There's nothing there that mentions DPF pressure sensor. So using one of those more affordable scan tools, they're good, but then it's only going to let you go so far. If you might be better than that, you might be able to diagnose stuff a bit more, but if the scan tool's holding you back, you're going to struggle. Let me find it. It's not in alphabetical order for some reason. Where the heck is it? See, that's the trouble with this. They all look the same to me. Volkswagen's there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so with that, you might be able to do more than what you did. More diagnostics. We're just looking at live data, but if it doesn't show you it, you can only be as good as the scan tool. I can't remember what this engine code was now. I better find out, since we're going into the regen and stuff like that. We want to know which engine it is. CBAB, you see it right down there? CBAB. CBAB, I've got into the Volkswagen side of the scan tool, and it's only the one fault now. We've got rid of the other fault, that was the throttle body. And with a diesel and DPF regeneration, anything that's in the engine that's faulty, there's a good chance it's going to stop it doing a regen until you fix those faults. And we had, on this car before, it was the throttle body. So now what I want to do is look at the regen, because we're looking at the soot content. So it wouldn't let me do a regen though. So he also said that it's low in power, so I've got two things going on now. Low in power, but I'm here really because of the lights. You can't afford a new DPF. I think that's the thing driving it. If you've got a diesel engine and you keep driving out short journeys, it's not going to be... so I could have just put it into the search instead of going through it all this like this. But what was I going to say? Sure, diesels aren't great for short journeys when you've got DPFs, because all you're going to do is encourage it to get blocked. You really need petrol for that. But people aren't advised all the time on what to buy when they buy a car. They just see that you better miles to the gallon, but that's not always the best thing when you later on have to pay for a DPF or something because of all the short journeys. I may not be able to do this. It said it wasn't a sensible idea to do a regen because risk of fire. There it is, differential pressure. There we go, we've got two things there. Differential pressure. Soot mass. That one there, it was just over the 50, and I think that was the thing that it didn't like. Okay. So, let's have a look at those two. I've got two more. So I'm interested in the pressure millibar. millibar. So what's a millibar? 1 second, I'll look that up. 1,000. 1,000 is 1 bar. Let's see what this goes up to when I pick the revs up. See it here. Isn't that bad? What would you say? There's about a fifth, somewhere between a fifth and a quarter of 1 bar, which is like a bar is about 14.5 psi, 14.7 psi. So that would mean this is a fifth of that. It's a few psi you could consider a blockage, so 3 psi. This isn't that, it's only a quarter of 1. 500 millibar would be about 7 psi, so I suppose 250 would be about 3.5. I suppose it's borderline and 3.5. If that was a petrol, you know, you might say that's a blockage on a cat as well. At 3.5 psi, I mean, which is about the same, I think, unless my calculations in my head are totally way off at this time of the day. They may be, but the fact is, it's a quarter of a bar. So I'm going to put a cleaner in this. I have to warm it up, then put a cleaner on it. Engine light's back on. Let's come out of this and check the fault codes again. Only 1 fault code. So the bit that was faulty is probably not helped in this. Short journeys and continually driving it with an engine light on with a faulty part, it may have not helped. I'm going to warm it up and then put a cleaner into this. This is the DPF sensor for the pressure sensor here, but as you can see, it's already loose. Somebody's been at this before I was called out to this, so I think there's a bit of history and I've not been told all about it. So I'll go and undo them, the bolts that are loose, the nuts that are loose I mean, and get this ready to put the cleaner down there into the big hose. That's the one in front of the DPF. So I got the hose off, the big hose off that connector that's at the DPF pressure sensor. So that's going to put the fluid right where I wanted it before the DPF. Now there is a chance that something before it's blocked, but because the thing before it, the catalyst, because that's level with the turbo, I didn't really want to go in there. But at least we've got this. That was like higher. I'm sure that was like 60 before. This is still at 15 minutes. I had to do 15 minutes at idle, just ticking over. So if I could maybe go back one, and I didn't want to come right out of that, I just wanted to get the engine speed up as well. So we can get that up, and then same as the other ones, what was it called, differential pressure, can't remember what we called it, if I spell it right. Oh, it's not showing me the other one as well. Okay. That's a pain. I wanted the engine speed too. That's okay, we'll just go with this. That one's going down all the time. So now I've got to pick the revs up. It says 15 minutes soaking, I've done that. Then 15 minutes I had to have this tick over or idle. Done that, 15 minutes. I sat in my van because there wasn't much else I could do. I watched a YouTube video, and so I can learn something from, I was watching Pine Hollow whilst I'm waiting on this. So now this has come down even more. It's roughly around that. I'm going to pick the revs up to 2000 RPM. I think the guy came out and switched the lights off whilst I was in the van, but I need the man to see the rev counter. There's the between 2,000 and 2,500. Oh, that's much lower as well. That's half of what it was before. So I've got to leave it like this for 5 minutes. Unfortunately, the time of the day, I'm sure the neighbours don't want me making too much noise. I'll give it a few minutes though, see if this starts to lower. And if it does, I'll just show you in 5 minutes time. There's no point me just filming it and showing you, because it's just me sitting with my foot on the accelerator before I just went and sat in my own van for a while. So I'll give this some time, see if it lowers it, and then see if we can get those lights out. I've given it about 10 minutes and it's slowly crept down. I'll let that go again. So it is lower pressure than it was before. I've still got the 3 lights on. So I'm going to go and see if I can reset them, clear the fault codes. Really it needs a DPF regen. What I might need to do is try and do a regen now that I put this in, but because of the time of night and where I am, I don't think the neighbours will be too happy listening to this running. It might seem really loud for them, so can we erase that now? No codes, but I still got the lights, because it still wants to do a regen. Try again. Why are the lights? Oh, it's straight back. It won't let me erase it. Okay, that's... Unless you erase it, I've not even started the car. Look, you see, engine off, erase, no codes. But it's straight back on when you check it again. So, doesn't like something. What have I got here? Guided functions. What's in that? DPF. Can I... adapting values of the DPF filter. Start the engine and allow it to idle. Increase to 1500. A bit more. Switch ignition off. So you've got to leave it for 40 seconds. So I'll give it at least 40 seconds, it says. It says it saved it successfully. Switch the ignition on. And it's on. Continue. Okay, the following function test is used to determine if the temperature sensor and the temperature sensors and the difference test sensor work properly. Difference. Well, those other lights are out now. I've just got the engine light. So I guess I've got to do that. I don't know if I could skip that part. I think I have to do this. Engine light's out. It may come back on. Now I've got to pick the revs up again. Hitting the wrong pedal in the dark, it's weird. Back to where we were, over 2000 RPM. Temperature before the turbo is 16, after 160, and the DPF is 150. Temperature values of the exhaust sensors must have the following temperature curve at an increase. What following? Temperature before the turbo, temperature before the diesel particulate filter, and the temperature after it. So what's happening? We got 120, 168, and 156. There's nothing really changing. I don't have any lights on there. I think I've just got to continue with this, do I? It is going up, but the temperatures are going up. I think that was 220 I said, I can't remember. The only light there is saying there's a bulb out somewhere. This is allowing me to do more with this scan tool. I couldn't do any of this before. All I'm doing is pressing buttons though. So the more you spend on a scan tool, the more it allows you to do, and the more you're gonna be able to help customers or even your own car. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with the little tool that I used last time to do it, to diagnose it. It was the same fault codes that this had, except there's only so far that tool can go. You can't do any of this with that. I'm not even saying this is going to fix it. It might decide it doesn't like something. Just picking the revs up a little bit more. I thought the engine was slowing down. It was my foot just getting tired and slowly coming off the accelerator. Do I continue it now? Or do I wait for this to stop doing its thing? It's one of those things, I'm not sure. Like before it was doing something similar with this swirly bit, and then all of a sudden the screen changed. I wasn't sure whether I should have continued it or anything, and then it just changed, so I'll give it a while and then I'll start recording again when I know what's happening. I just press the continue in the end, this continue bit. Now it's going to check the pressure at idle, let the engine idle, which it is doing. Is it happy? Stop the engine, we can do that. End of test. Escape. Ignition on. This was in the guided functions on this hotel. Engine. Trouble codes. Hopefully it's not still there. Maybe it'll let me erase it now. No codes, come out. And last time I did this again and it came straight back. Well, it's not coming straight back. And that was with the ignition on. So, we'll start the car. The all-important one is the light go out and stay out. Read codes. No codes. Wow, so far that's a success. Sorry, it's so dark that the lighting is going to be hard. But for you to see, the lighting's not great. But we've done it. We're done. Done with this, so I can take this off now. I was watching something on Scanadana, and he was saying sometimes you have to take something right off. Take the scan tool off, not just switch the ignition off, but take this right off before certain fault codes are going to be cleared. So now, I'm going to come out of this, switch it off. But this hotel does do things that that little one isn't going to do. I know it's dark. I'll pull out the scan tool. You see down there where the rev counter is? I've left the lights on so you can see it. 3 lights, they've gone out, 2 have gone out. Quite happy with that. I'm just going to tell him to try it, see how he gets on. There's no point me doing any more today. It's getting late. I'll wait, I'm sure you'll let me know if there's any problems. This is what I used that made the difference. Gives you the instructions when you peel the label back here and tells you how to do it. It comes with this big hose. So, in this case it worked fine. Thanks for watching.